Hi, this week's Ajax Motorsports Tech Tip video, we're going to be talking about seat covers and how to install them. Now the things that you're going to need, of course, is a new seat cover. You can get these from a bunch of different places. Matt at Throttle Jockey hooked us up with this one, and the nice thing about his, you can pick each piece on them, what color of ribs, all sorts of stuff. You can get it customized, say Kawasaki, KTM, whatever bike brand, as well as your name, whatever you want. So really cool. That's Throttle Jockey. Check them out. Some safety glasses, because we're going to be working with some power equipment. You're going to also need a staple gun. I like to use air-powered staple guns. They do cost about 50 bucks, but it's an investment if you're ever planning on doing seat covers more than once. It makes it a lot easier. Also, manual staple guns have a hard time getting through the plastic on the bottom of the seat. So air staple gun, some 1/4 inch or 6 mil staples usually work out pretty good. They're not so long that they get in there and puncture through the seat if you get close on some of the thin areas. I like to also have some pliers on hand in case I need to pull a staple out that didn't go in quite right. I like to leave the original seat cover on if I can, if it's not all tore up. That gives me an extra layer of protection before it hits the foam, keeps the foam sealed up. It also makes the seat a little bit more rigid, so there may be some downsides for you. But I like to leave those on. It saves me a little bit of time from pulling the staples off of here. So let's get started. Your first step is going to be to fit the seat cover on. So you're going to take, usually they have a recessed pocket on the front, makes it a little bit easier to get it lined up. So you're going to get that worked on there and try to keep it symmetrical. That's important. Just kind of stretch it, figure out kind of where it's going to lay. Now a lot of times you really need to use some muscle and stretch these down, otherwise you'll end up with some wrinkles, and you don't want wrinkles in that seat cover. It looks bad. So you're just going to work that front end on first, kind of check out with the back, see how much extra room you have to work with. Some seat covers, there's not much extra room. Some leave you plenty of room to work with, and then you can trim some off at the end if there's too much. So I'm just kind of seeing where it's going to lay, and then once I'm kind of happy with the way the lines are, I'm going to put some staples in the front first, and then I'm going to staple the back, and that's going to keep my line straight, and then I'm going to work it down and staple along this inside as I go. It's important, once you staple the front and the back, start at the knees, because that's your next most important place. That's where most of your pressure is that pulls the seat cover material. So you're going to staple in the knees, and then you're going to work in the holes from there. All right. So I like to start with just 1 or 2 staples. And if it doesn't work out, if you don't like where the placement is, it's not too big of a deal. You can dig your old staples out, and as long as you haven't just perforated it too bad, you can go ahead and put new staples back in, and it's not that big of a deal. So I get the back to where it lines up good, and I'll throw a couple staples in there. And you may find it helpful to have a buddy help you hold stuff, or you can hold the seat while they staple. Just depends how much you trust them. All right, so check that back out. Now you're going to notice some wrinkles right now, but that's not that big of a deal at this point, because you're going to be pulling from the center outwards, and that's going to take care of a lot of those wrinkles. So just make sure along the lines that you don't get too carried away. You do want to do this symmetrically. That way you don't put the whole one side down. You don't want to put the left side down first and then go over to the right side. You want to kind of, what you do to one side, you're going to want to do it to the other side. It keeps it more symmetrical. So, all right, I like that. Just kind of keep my place here. Throw a staple in here, or 2, just to hold it. And then I'm going to go to the other side and do the same thing. So what I'm doing, I'm just grabbing it, stretching, and rolling it over. I kind of try to keep that tight as I go in here, press firmly on that staple gun, and do a staple. So here I found a place where these staples are no longer holding it quite tight enough. They're not stretching the material quite enough, so I'm going to pull those out. As long as you don't do this too often, it's usually not too big of a deal. So I'm going to go ahead and pull those out, and then re-stretch this area get it to where I like it a little bit better, and then I'm going to staple it back down. Once I have the seat the way I like it without the wrinkles in it, I'll go back in, make sure that there's no gaps in the staples, I'll pull it tight if there are, and then throw a staple in there, and then we're good to go. When you're finished, I like to have the staples no more than about a ½ inch apart. You can get away with a few less, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for next week's edition of Ajax Tech Tip videos.